the ID draft, but I feel that it's really important that social media companies think about this before such technologies are rolled out, which it's very obvious that this will be misused. Like if a simple tweet can be misused and used to direct hate speech, then you can only imagine what a deepfake video can do. So yes, that's it from my side. I feel like it's really important that we consider the threat that it offers to women's privacy and safety and their participation in online spaces.
Thank you, Jacqueline. It's really great that you took your insight and you have told us about the online abuse and what are the insecurities women as a human being, as a voter face, and what can be done with them in the elections. So now I'll ask Kartik, and before I go to Kartik, there is one curiosity is coming to my mind. Can clones be also made through this AI so that people, voters, they can fetch the voters through that clone identity of the leader, and when they can go to the rallies and they can fetch the voters, and voters will be in illusion whether this is a reality or a fake or a synthetic person. And secondly, this somehow I feel is like a sugar-coated cookie. One has to digest what is the AI in your thought, as you have been on so many panels. We want to have your insight. Please, Kartik.
Thank you, Almi, and I just congratulate. This is one of the very fun and light panels I've seen. So, thank you for that moderation. And I, for one, believe that you haven't used ChatGPT in your space. It's authentic.
That will make it a factor. Otherwise, my tenant will come out.
So what I thought I'll probably do is, because I see a range of people in the audience, and when certain words are being used, I see some people giving a reaction that they really don't fully understand. So, and then I'll come to your point as well in a couple of minutes. So typically when we talk about AI or generative AI, as my colleague was talking about, we're talking about three subsets of technology here. One is data science. Data science is basically you look at historical data and use techniques like regression, classification. These are all statistical terms. But you make sense out of data. So which could be very interesting from an election perspective, right? So we are only talking about Indian elections here, but this is a very interesting year. We've got 2 billion people going into polls in 50 countries. So this is a pretty interesting year to be in elections globally. So when I talk about statistics or data science, we are looking at the set of data. So think of it from an election perspective. If a party is trying to understand or make sense of a particular demographics, so although we haven't had like census in last few years or whatever reason, but you can look at various geopolitical data and make sense of a particular demographics and try to figure out how to pitch a relevant subset of your manifesto or a proposition to a particular set of voters. And what you could also do is you could create a common script but use data science and statistical models to create versions of that central scheme or central sort of masala of pitch you have, and you create auto subsets using data science. So that's one area which is mostly positive. I haven't come across of use cases where people have misused it. The only misuse is you can sugarcoat certain data sets to make it sound appealing for an average voter. So that's the only con in it. Second technology is computer vision. So computer vision is where you talk about cases like deepfakes. So the use case of computer vision is that I can use my photo or my images or my voice tones and notes, and I can use it to create a digital twin of myself. So which is pretty positive and interesting, right? Let's say if I have to be here, but I can't be here for whatever reason. So I can use my digital twin, which will be here in the format of 2D on a screen, or can be casted through a hologram and will be 3D. And it will talk the way I am talking. It will have the same content, it will have the same voice tone, voice notes. So you would not need me physically. So which is good for scaling up. Let's say if Honorable Prime Minister has to be in 20 rallies at the same time, he could use this technology and he could use it to deliver content in local languages, real time. So you can have n number of rallies, you can be in all of them, engage with audience, and you basically scale yourself as an individual using digital tools. So a lot of companies are also using it for communication with their employees. So it's all good. The problem starts when you start creating digital event for somebody else and you start to impersonate the person without their explicit consent. So that's where the regulatory challenge sort of kicks in. But a lot of people are also using it for positive purposes. Now in case of deepfakes, a lot of companies like Intel, Nvidia, they are coming up with deepfake detectors also. So what they are using is there is a technology called PPG, not going into details of it, but what it does is if you have a human...
Sorry, what you said? PPG.
So what it in layman terms means is if you have a human video, let's say if you're recording my video, if you do a spectral analysis of this video, because of blood flowing through my veins, if you do a detailed analysis of my video, you can figure out that the color of my skin is changing at a nano level, and the spectral analysis can pick that up. But if it's a deepfake video, because there is no underlying blood in your face, you are able to detect with certain degree of tolerance and accuracy that this video is not of a human being because the color of the face is not changing, it's static. Plus there are other attributes like how good is the lip sync, how many details are available in that particular video, can you see teeth, is hair moving or not. So there are a lot of attributes, more than 100 plus attributes have been defined by Intel in their checker, which can help you identify whether a video is a potential deepfake or not. So that's the second technology. The third one is called natural language processing. So third technology is called natural language processing or NLP. A lot of people confuse it with the other NLP, neuro-linguistic. It's got nothing to do with that. So NLP is where you look at a certain textual data or metadata and you make sense of it. So things like sentiment analysis, many of you would have heard, right? In short, since you are from this community, summarizing news and giving it in short bullets, right? So that uses that technology called natural language processing. The various models are there like TensorFlow, bag of words. What you essentially do is you assign weights to different keywords and the frequency of occurrence of that keywords, and depending on that and crowdsourced data, you are able to create a summary of that, or you can extract intent from it. So which is again pretty positive if you think about from an election perspective. Let's say I am a candidate, I want to know how people are thinking or talking about me. So I can use this technology to scan social media at large, Google reviews, news articles about me, my party, and I can get a sense of what's the general sentiment and what are the key issues with my candidature in my geography and what are the key positives about my candidature. And I can then create a custom script. So I can, let's say, know as a candidate that women in my constituency are happy or not happy for what reasons. A certain section of society is happy, not happy for what reason. So I can create a custom script. So if I go to her house, I know journalist background, women, age this, in my constituency, this is what I need to tell her. I don't need to give a standard one-to-many broadcast pitch, but I can customize my pitch as per the potential voter. So these are the positives. But negatives is you can also use technologies to create a lot of fake content about somebody and tailor-made the sentiment analysis, because it's basically using weights of keyword occurrences. So if I, let's say, use a lot of independent journalism, or I create false links and create a lot of misinformation on those links, which create a negative SEO, and you are able to then alter the sentiment. Because if you search, is Kartik Sharma and it says bad candidate, because it's just doing PageRank algorithm, aggregating the number of links which talk about you, and it's creating a sentiment out of it. So if you use enough, throw enough technology at it to create a lot of negative content for a particular party or a particular candidate, you can create a false narrative or a false sentiment about a party or an individual as well. So which is the risk? Now coming to your point, I think I have partly covered it. It's a brilliant tool for from elections perspective, for any individual or any party to create a scalable version of their candidature and also be closer to the voter or their demographics, because then they can create a lot of vernacular content. They would have a deeper understanding of the issues. You could even create, like say, a WhatsApp bot on which you are constantly there 24/7 listening to people's problems. I worked on a similar problem with one of the MPs in Indore, where people can constantly, throw their issues. They can get real-time response. So it's a good technology as well, if you look at it, in terms of making yourself available to every. Otherwise, back in the day, people would just line up outside the house of a member of parliament or a candidate, right? And they would not get time to access. But here you can have your digital twin talk through text, through video, and actually solve problems. But the negative side being, the only issue being impersonation without the explicit consent of the person, which I'm sure she'll talk about, but the current regulation under the IT Act define it in a very vague manner, because AI is a technology so fast in terms of evolving that there is no clear definition. I mean, if you looked at the EU AI Act, you would see that they have defined AI in a certain manner, but US is taking a slightly different take to it. And while we are talking about these technologies, newer forms of generative AI are coming in, like ChatGPT has launched Sora, in which you can create, videos from just one image and using simple shot processing. So a lot of these regulations will become have to be very adaptive and agile, rather than the old school IT Act, which we are trying to use as an umbrella for AI. But my sense is it will not cut it, because AI in itself, and then the issue of accountability, because back in the day you were developing AI, so you could fix accountability on a particular individual or a firm. But now with generative AI, the AI is generating further AI on its own. So it's like a Rubik's Cube which is constantly changing. So how do you create interesting regulations and fix accountability wherein you don't know the current version of AI which you would be regulating, what's the trail of that AI being created? So I think those are the issues. Like you would never get to know the source of who created the deepfake video. Like it's possible today that I can create deepfake videos and they become viral, but you would never be able to trace, because there's nobody who has created it on a laptop, on Adobe XD and compiled and shared. So those are the kind of challenges which will become very pertinent, and I would love to hear from my colleague that how she feels that regulators would be able to actually tackle it in a categorical way.
So AI is can create deepfakes, yeah?
Yes.
With no ability to, with no one tracing back. That's but it's self-created, self-generated.
Yes.
Then who controls it? Nobody.
She's Radha Madhu, very veteran journalist, and she is speaking to Kartik. But may I request all the audience and all the participants that we will have a question answer round, and Tejasvi also have to speak. So now I'm going to back to Tejasvi for her insight on the topic and have a book and moment, how she feels and how she goes.